I said in our first counseling session that she wants to work on trust. I don't know what that looks like anymore. My wife of 17 years had an affair with my best friend that lasted a few months. I found out in January. We stayed in the same house and tried to reconcile until July. In July, she went on a trip that I asked her not to. I could tell she was emotionally gone already. While she was traveling, I moved out. I tried multiple times to get her to realize the severity of her actions, and she was very checked out already. Fast forward to now. I have a nice apartment, sold my van for a 2-seat sports car, crushing the gym and all that jazz. I'm content with my life now. 2 weeks ago, we had our first couples counseling session. We were asked what we want to work on, and my wife responded with learning how to regain trust with BF. Other than that statement, the entire session was gaslighting, blame, shifting, all the normal stuff that I've been dealing with for months. It was very sad to experience. I do want to give her a fair shake, though. The therapist asked us to both work on gathering a set of goals and thinking about what trust looks like. I just don't know what trust looks like. Trust is not having an affair in the first place. Trust is being able to not give a second thought to my wife being around my friends without me being there. Trust is built over 17 years, not recovered in a few weeks or months. I took my wife off my phone plan because I didn't want to have to care about who she is texting. I opened my own bank account and removed myself from our joint account because I don't want to have to see where she spends money. I never ask her where she is or what she's doing. Initially, after I found out about the affair, the snooping consumed me. I learned that I would never have the answers I wanted, and I could either let it consume me or just move on. The concern I used to have for her and what she was doing pre-affair is just a dead space now in my mind. She's hovering around in my life, but not in the same way as before. It's really hard to formulate the words. Update after 10 months of trying to reconcile. My wife told me about her affair in February 2020. I stayed in the house trying to work things out until July. I've been in my own place since then. I told her I would give her a year of working on the marriage. I'm not going to make it. In my last post, I was asking about how to rebuild trust. I asked her for 2 things: for her to share her location via Google Maps and to be able to ask questions, possibly repeatedly, without being shamed for it. I wanted her to be willing to understand that I struggle with her answers sometimes as they don't seem logical, and that I need to be able to ask questions as a follow-up without her flipping her poop. She wouldn't share her location for a month, called me controlling, and in the same sentence saying how I never cared where she was before. I pointed out how it can't be both ways. She can't be angry at me for never caring where she was before, and also be angry at me for understanding that she wanted me to care where she was and asking for her location. Weeks went by before she started sharing her location. Our marriage counselor was pretty surprised that she didn't share her location while sitting in his office as we discussed it. As for my second request, it hasn't gotten better. I still get blame shifting, gaslighting, and anger thrown my way when I ask for her to explain something related to her affair or our current relationship. In therapy recently, I mentioned that I feel like I'm in a holding pattern waiting for her to work on herself. After the session, she called me to tell me that she hasn't been giving our marriage 100 for the last few months because she's afraid of being hurt. I'm giving it 110. It's soul-crushing to hear someone you love say they've been only sorta working on their relationship with you. A huge pain point in our relationship has always been Xmas. I don't celebrate holidays. She does. It never bothered me that she would go visit her family over the holidays. She weaponized this against me after her affair, stating that she was forced to have Xmas with her family because I don't know. I'm not fun, I guess. Well, Xmas is upon us. I asked her to spend it with me. We could plan a trip or something. A week went by. She never followed up on the offer. Next thing I know, she lets slip that she'll be at her parents' for the entire holiday. Message received. She asks for ways to work on the relationship. I give her ideas. She never executes. I'm realizing it's all just one over the minimum amount of effort needed to. Hell, I don't know. Guess string me along. She says I never tell her about my day. I tell her that's because she never calls. I'm told I'm being mean. Sadly, The next 2 weeks will be the hardest of my life. I'm realizing that because I will want to move out of the state, I won't get custody. My parents tell me that I'm not a bad parent for wanting to move at the risk of getting custody. I'm hoping that because our kid is older, the court will let them decide who to live with. It's time to hire a lawyer. To all of you out there spending your first Xmas alone, have a drink on me and cheers. Update. Journal of a Gray Stone, Day 10. Quick recap. My cat died 2 Fridays ago. The following day, my wife left for another state to have Xmas with her family and took our son. Prior to her leaving, we agreed that our son would need a negative COVID test before he would be allowed to come to my place for my custody time. She also informed me that she would not be communicating with me for the 10 days she was on holiday because she needed to disconnect. I decided that it was time to turn into a gray stone and move on with my life. No sane person that loves another person that loves another person that had an affair that is working on their marriage disconnects during a holiday for 10 days. That's what a vile, evil, mean, nasty person does. There's no other purpose other than to inflict pain and suffering. As promised, she didn't contact me once in those 10 days. Not to ask how I was coping with the lose of our cat, not to wish me Merry Christmas. Nothing. It felt. She was set to return Sunday, but messaged me Saturday night to tell me that she had decided to stay an extra day. Never mind that I was supposed to get custody on Monday. Never mind that she hadn't gotten our son tested for COVID. Never mind if I had plans with him. She just told me she was keeping him another day. We don't have a legal custody agreement, just a gentleman's agreement, which apparently she doesn't feel the need to abide by any longer. I gray-stoned the poop out of her message. There was no win in replying in any shape or form, so I just didn't reply. Monday, she got back in town and promptly called me multiple times, texted, and then emailed. I was the most dull, boring, gray stone you've ever seen. I didn't answer or reply. The following part of this story is 100% her doing, without a doubt. She just is incapable of being responsible for anything in her vortex. She emailed me last night, Monday night, to inform me that the gas company was turning off her gas on Tuesday due to a comedy of errors on her part. She informed me that I would need to take our son and that she didn't know where she would go. I replied and told her that our son was welcome to stay with me once he had a negative COVID result. I know she wanted me to white knight her. I know she wanted me to chime in and offer suggestions and help. I know she wanted me to sign it love, too old for this nonsense. Duck that. That ship has sailed. It has been a life changer for me to finally be to a point of apathy towards her. I have achieved the state of May. Update. I truly have reached a state of apathy. I've been living in a studio apartment for 4 months since separation started. My apartment building had a 2-bedroom open up and I jumped at the chance. My kiddo and I spent the holiday weekend moving. He finally gets a room to himself. I went out Saturday and bought furniture for the entire place. Sheets, plates, all that jazz. It felt freaking fantastic. Back in August when we separated and I went and bought a couch, I could barely make it into a store without getting emotional, thinking about all the things I missed doing with my wife. I'm not a people person and don't really like doing small talk with salespeople, and I was always thankful that my wife loved doing that. We'd go into a store. I'd wander around avoiding everyone and she'd come find me when she wanted my opinion. Shopping this weekend was a completely different experience for me. In 20 years, I've never looked at women as I've never looked at them as dating material. I've never processed in my head, is this person cute? That all changed on Saturday. My wife spent the weekend emailing me and texting me. She swung from forgiving me for what crimes I do not know to telling me she thought it would help me to know that she misses me, something she hasn't said since D-Day, to getting angry when I wouldn't return her texts. I crushed it being a graystone. I hit archive on her texts as soon as they arrive, and I hit delete on her emails as soon as they arrive. I haven't snooped her Facebook in weeks. I don't pick up my phone 500 times a day hoping she texted me. I leave that joker on airplane mode and it feels amazing. Update. Fun little game I've been playing with Stupsway. I moved from my studio to a two-bedroom apartment at the start of the month. I went out and bought furniture for the entire place since I moved out with nothing. New sheets, new bed, new plates. Everything. I felt like a kid going off to college. My Starbucks has reached out a few times hinting at wanting to be invited over to see my place. I've been pretending to be too dense to notice her hints. I only plan on letting ladies come over that didn't blow up a 20-year relationship. I'm doing fine, Starbucks. I don't need you to pick out sheets and towels. I shared photos of the apartment with people that care about me, not narcissistic vacuums. This will probably be my last update, but I'll be around to chime in on all your threads. Well, it's been almost a year since D-Day. This sub probably saved my life. I've never needed any Attaboy or you got this in my life. I moved 2,000 miles away from everything I knew at 17 years old. I've always been able to pick myself up by my bootstraps. My Starbucks affair with my best friend destroyed me and made me an empty, hollow husk of a man. I joined this sub and met some amazing people. My Starbucks continues to send me emails and texts blaming me, gaslighting, and just plain trying to get kibble from me. She sent me an email at 5:30 a.m. this morning with more of the horse poop she spews. This week has been one of the best weeks of my life. I've been on 2 dates with a lovely lady. We text and chat nonstop all day. My boss even mentioned that he noticed something has changed this week. He's glad for whatever it is. So, Monday morning, I drop my kiddo off with my Starbucks and come back to my apartment. And then, Operation Bra Left Behind commences. The lovely lady I've been chatting up comes over for dinner Monday night. She's spent this week teasing me nonstop. Life is good, folks. You will recover, but only if you make it happen. Your life is what you make of it. Leave the relationship debt that your spouse dropped on you and live the best version of you that you can. I owe this sub a debt, which I don't know can ever be repaid. I probably won't have another update, but I'll be here for at least a few more months to pay it forward. I hope you all find your true north. You update. How should I handle the affair conversation in the dating world? Feel free to take a peek at my submission history if you want a backstory. I know this sub isn't exactly for dating advice, but I feel like this crowd probably understands more than most what we deal with in a post-affair world. My therapist suggested that it was time for me to start to date. She recommended that I get on Bumble. I did. Hit it off right away with a lady. We dated for a month, but slowly found that our schedules don't mesh for more than just catching dinner once a week. So I jumped back on Bumble and a few other dating apps. Last week, I was chatting with 30 ladies across 3 apps. Inevitably, the question of why are you back on the market after so long comes up. I've struggled for a long time to figure out the way to respond to this. I'm generally a very straightforward person. Present the facts and let other people decide. My wife of 17 years had an affair with my best friend. I've been separated for a year. Divorce is just awaiting courts. Pretty much every lady bails at this point. The ones that make it past that hurdle then move on to the "what are you looking for in a relationship" question. I've struggled with this as well. I have unlimited T2. I work remote. I have 0 debt. I have a 2-seat sports car not hauling your kids around. My passport has 40 stamps in it. I'm looking for a lady to be my partner in crime. I get the feeling that when I say these things, ladies read them as I just want to duck. Please don't tie me down in a relationship. I've never had a one-night stand in my life. I just want to hang out with cool people and see the world. I get the feeling that ladies enjoy the idea of this life, but once it's presented as a reality, they bail because there's no white picket fence or something. At this point, I'm pretty much ready to bail on the dating apps, but wanted to see what everyone's thoughts are. I have a couple single buddies, and they tell me to expect about 2 of the ladies on apps to actually move past the parental stage. 1 in 50. I'd rather invest my time in ducking off on the dirt bike. Update. Do I share my wins with my son if my ex asks about them? It has taken a lot of work to get my son to the point where he was ready and interested to ride a dirt bike. His mom commonly stepped on him being adventurous. I ride almost every weekend and have always wanted my son to try and join me. A year into the separation, I've finally worked my son out of his shell and got him onto a dirt bike that I bought him this weekend. Next to him getting his scuba cert, seeing him on a dirt bike was probably my proudest dad moment of all time. His time with me wrapped up this morning and I dropped him off at his mom's. She texted me around lunch and asked for a photo of him riding the dirt bike. While I'm pretty much to the point of indifference towards her, I still feel a bit of hate. Her affair after 17 years of marriage essentially robbed me of 50 of my time with my son in the stage of his life where I really wanted to have the greatest impact. He's about to turn 15 and I'm stuck living my life 1 week at a time now because of her bull poop. I don't know how to respond to her text. Him dirt biking is my win. It's my victory. It's my time. She shouldn't get any of the win. I know she wants to share photos with her family. The family that I was excluded from for 14 years. The family that didn't support our 20-year relationship. So, do I share a photo, or do I just continue to gray rock, which I've been doing successfully for months? Update: how to handle friends that continue being friends with XA. I'm not shouting from the rooftops what my ex did, but if asked, I tell the truth of the matter. Today was my ex's birthday, and since we have shared friends on Facebook, the friends' happy birthday posts to my ex showed up on my feed. A few of these friends know the full story about what happened. It stings quite a bit, honestly. If I was friends with a couple and one of them had an affair and hand-grenaded a 20-year relationship, I'd have a hard time communicating with that person, let alone sending them public birthday messages on Facebook. I feel like nuking all those friends. Thoughts: if one of my friends beat the poop out of their spouse, there's zero chance I'd be wishing them happy birthday on Facebook. Update: I'll never forgive my ex for destroying my ability to trust. Feel free to snoop my history for the backstory. A lady and I have been dating for a few weeks. Last weekend was one of the greatest weekends of my life. We spent the entire weekend together and I shared my life with her. She stayed over both nights and she's had plans to go on a vacation this weekend since before we met. I was super excited for her because I think everyone needs to stretch their legs. She's supposedly staying with a married male friend. We've made plans for me to pick her up from the airport and then stay at my place when she returns, as I live over an hour closer to the airport than she does. We've made plans for the entire holiday weekend next weekend. She knows generally what my ex of 20 years did to me. Once she landed, her entire communication pattern changed. In 24 hours, only 3 texts. We normally talk on the phone at least twice a day. I replied to her texts and asked questions about how it's going. No answer. No good night. No good morning. Obviously, we aren't in a long relationship, but we did agree to only date each other. I'm in Colonel Panic mode. I'm in that flight or fight mode we all felt when we discovered the infidelity. I'm ready to just pull the ripcord and jettison her. I know I should talk to her and tell her what I'm dealing with. I can't do it. I don't want to make her vacation about me. I'm pretty heartbroken. I feel like I was learning to love again. Duck our exes that kicked our trust squarely in the butt. Update: a year in review and a final farewell. It's been nearly a year since I first posted about my journey down the pooptiest road in the world. I would have waited for exactly a year, 2 more weeks, but I'll be traveling without internet for the next few weeks. Taya recap. In February 2020, my wife of 19 years told me that she had slept with my best friend multiple times. This friend and I were involved in a number of clubs and organizations together. In one fell swoop, I lost my family, hobbies, and work. The ex. We had a gentleman's agreement about custody and finances. It was a good deal for my ex. When the time came for her to make me whole, she hired a lawyer and decided to fight everything. She still owes me for 50 of the household goods. 10 of the home, and about $10 in cash, plus lawyer fees. She has filed in court for full custody, and I'm in the process of jumping through all the insane hoops that go along with family court. Our son will be 21 before we have custody sorted. So she does fun things like drop him off at 7 a.m. on Labor Day with 0 warning or notification. She's emailed me to tell me that him attending prom is more important than his education. She told me that before I date anyone, I need to do a full background check on them. The laughs I have at her expense are numerous, and I could write for days about the madness that surrounds her vortex of bullpoop. Our 20-year anniversary would be in a few weeks. I'll be on holiday with a lady friend and will privately chuckle to myself. Advice for those of you still in the vortex. It will end, I promise. The amount of times you think about them in a day will decrease until it's almost non-existent. You will find new friends. You will find new friends. You will build new memories. You will move past this speed bump in the road of life and you'll be a better person. You'll probably be less giving of your trust, but those that you do give trust to will be more deserving of it than in the past. Myself, I put off rejoining a shared industry that I was in with app. I went from being on 2 boards in the industry to nothing overnight. It's a risky industry where lives are on the line every day, and I wasn't in a mental state for it anymore. Today, I submitted my application to rejoin a team and get back to it. I'm putting the wraps on my dive master cert. Diving was my ex's hobby. Now that poop is mine. Dating was all over the map for me. My therapist made me join some dating apps. I hadn't dated in 24 years. A lot of ladies just wanted pen pals. Only 2 ever wanted to meet in person. One of them stuck around and we're starting to share a life together. I posted about some situations I was working through with my lady friend. My therapist and parents remind me often to worry less about tomorrow and focus on today. I couldn't ride motorcycles for almost a year. The first time I did, I rode the wrong way down 2 different one-way streets. I was very much in the wrong mental state. In May, I got back to riding with buddies. Just the other day, one of my best friends said to me, "I'm glad you're finally really back. A lot of us thought we had lost you. It's good to see you smiling again." My ex and I talked for years about getting tattoos together, but she would never commit. I have a tattoo now. You this, You guys saved my life. I have no doubt of it. One of my best friends was found on this sub. Tiffany, if you're reading this, you're not as far along in your journey as I am, but I know you'll get there. Stop running away from things and start running towards something. Farewell. I'm off to the other side of the world in 2 weeks. I'll be gone for 2 weeks on a trip with my lady friend. The remainder of 2021 will be spent prepping for 2022. I've already booked flights to 4 countries in 2020. I've already booked flights to 4 countries in 2022. I have plans to move somewhere I want to move to for the first time since I got married 19 years ago. All our moves were for my ex's career. 2022 will see me getting my skydiving cert and finishing my wilderness MT certification. This will hopefully be my last submission. I'll still lurk and offer advice, but my story ends here. Updates from the crazy train. Choo-choo. My son failed 2 core classes last year, all year long. The ex and I agreed that if our son failed any courses that he would retake them the following year. Summer school would not be utilized. After he failed 2 courses, I advocated to move him to a professional, paid online education. The ex refused because I already pay school taxes and I don't believe in asynchronous learning. In-person socialization is more important than education. The end of June arrives and the ex emails me to tell me that she has enrolled our son in course recovery, which is essentially asynchronous summer school. Remember the part where I said she didn't think asynchronous education was real? That lasts an entire year. Ignoring the fact that she's making unilateral decisions about our son, she completely undermined us with our son because he no longer had to pay the consequences for his actions, taking 9th grade classes again as a 10th grade classes again as a 10th grader. This also sets our son up to fail 10th grade classes that build on the 9th grade education that he failed. How the duck can someone expect a student to pass 10th grade math when they don't grasp 9th grade math? When they don't grasp 9th grade math, the ex insisted that she would supervise the course recovery program. Cool. Own it, because I want no part of this madness. Every few weeks, I log into the system to check our son's progression and grades. He's well behind schedule and currently has a 15 in math. I ask the ex if she has him on a schedule completing work. She tells me that he completes 3 tasks a day, 5 days a week. That doesn't appear to line up with what the site shows, but whatever. I ask her if she defined expectations and consequences. She tells me that her expectations are that he completes the work and doesn't care what the grades the work and doesn't care what the grades are. She tells me that she has told our son there are no consequences for failure. I have this in an email. This week I had finally had enough. He hasn't done work in weeks. I message him and ask him what lesson he is on. He tells me he is on a lesson about 40 ahead of where the website shows him. A little note, he can't work on lessons other than the next one on the list, so he can't access a lesson 40 in advance. Cool. So I've set him up for a checkmate. I ask him to complete the next lesson and send me a screenshot of the results grade score. 2 hours later, my ex emails me and tells me that the site deleted all his progress from the last 3 months. Choo-choo, all aboard the crazy train. Before we can discuss anything, my ex emails the school counselor and CCs me and our son and makes the claim that the summer school website, which is used by 20 million users, deleted months of work. I text my son and tell him that I have experience building an industry-leading ELMS learning management system. I understand the level of tracking that ELMS have, and would he like to correct the record with me before we get the school more involved? He doubles down on the lies. The school counselor replies with a session report that shows login, logout, idle time, EAP addresses, and what, if any, work was completed in that time. My son has hundreds of hours of idle time. My ex refuses to accept this. She asks for the company that built the software to be contacted. The school tells my ex that in the 4 years that the software has been in use in the district, never once has a student reported deleted work. The company replies with even more information to contradict the idea that somehow the system ate my homework. I email my ex directly and tell her that it's either one of two things. One, she has lied about supervising. She claims to have seen our son's results on each assignment, and she has now included our son in her lies. Or two, our son has been lying to her, and she has not been monitoring his studies as she stated in writing that she would. Meanwhile, I have a son that was forced into an education situation that was designed for him to fail. The school allowed it. My ex forced it, and I'm powerless to correct it because the courts are dragging their feet. I emailed my lawyer and said, "This is what it looks like when the family court system fails the child." I included screenshots of his current grades, which include 2 Fs in 10th grade courses and 2 Fs in 9th grade courses. Update. Insanity, causing me to miss out on 3 4-day weekends over the next 2 months. I work for a really killer organization. The owner announced 3 4-day weekends in November and December. I can't take advantage of any of them. The stepbox who will not budge from week on, week off custody. She shows up at 7 a.m. Monday morning, regardless of whether or not it's a holiday. She'll wake our 15-year-old up at 6 a.m. on a holiday morning, if it happens to be a Monday, and drops him off at my place. No discussion, no flexibility, nothing. She holds my free time ransom while we wait on courts to stop the madness. Update. My lack of religious beliefs was used against me in family court. Yesterday, my soon-to-be ex-wife and I had our first interim family court custody hearing. My ex had custody of our 15-year-old son last year over the winter holiday break. I was asking for the same amount of time this year. When her lawyer cross-examined me, she started by asking me what my religion is. I responded stating I wasn't sure how that was relevant. She switched to asking me if I celebrate Christmas. Obviously, I don't. I'm agnostic. The hearing officer admonished me for being agnostic and wanting equal custody time with my son. It should be noted that my soon-to-be ex-wife had an affair, which is why we are ending a 16-year marriage. Is it legal to use my non-religious beliefs against me in a holiday custody dispute? Tied it. I only requested the custody hearing because my son has told his mom and myself that he wants to spend the break with me since he spent the last one with her. She lied about this point in the hearing and stated that our son doesn't want to spend any holidays with me. I have a lawyer and she was present. It will take another 10-12 months before the courts will hear my son's opinion on this. I understand my usage of obviously was poor. I was under an immense amount of pressure at the time. I do not celebrate Christmas in any way, shape, or form. This doesn't mean I don't like spending the winter break doing stuff with my kiddo. Redditor's reactions. Redditor 1. The Supreme Court ruled that non-belief is protected under the same rules as any religion. Go talk to a lawyer. Redditor 2. Report this to the court. The lawyer should be admonished. Answer. I'm trying to figure out how. The person wasn't a judge. They are a hearing officer. I've asked my lawyer where I should file a complaint. I'm waiting to hear back. Redditor 3. I don't understand what religion has to do with celebrating the holidays. Being atheist or agnostic doesn't preclude you from enjoying a holiday, which is only religious if you choose to make it so. I would have told that attorney that, of course, I celebrate the holidays, just not the religious aspects of them. Forced him or her to defend their underhanded religion-baiting tactic. Redditor follow-up. Hindsight is always 2020, although I'd say the same. I enjoy Christmas and get my kids Christmas presents, but they know nothing of Jesus and the Christian faith elements. It's just Christmas, a time to enjoy. I also buy chocolate Easter eggs. I don't see the faith aspect being important at all, but at the same time, I see no reason why someone should have to lie to maintain a pretense if they genuinely don't celebrate Christmas. If he has a good defense of his own, I'm sure he can counteract any religious preference with how the Bible, based on the assumption of Christmas and Christianity, suggests an adulteress should be treated. Redditor 4. I'm surprised the lawyer wasn't reprimanded for bringing up Christmas. What if you were Jewish? Even if people don't understand atheism, they should at least understand that not everyone is Christian. Redditor follow-up. This is custody court. Religion, holidays, all of that can be hashed out in custody court. It is about keeping the child's life as stable as possible.